Hey, everybody.
Not me. Why am I not showing start video?
Well, there you go.
Um, okay, can anybody hear me?
Yeah.
We could for a second and then you muted yourself. Kathy, you're still muted.
Okay,
There we go.
all right, thank you. So I think we have everybody here that we were expecting. Does anybody know of anyone else who's planning to join us? So it looks like that's a no. We have with us, I'm Kathy Roach and I'm currently the chair of Boyd Acres Neighborhood Association, sometimes known as BANA. And we have with us tonight some people from the Bend Park and Recs. And they're going to do a presentation for us first. And I'm in Texas right now, outside of Dallas. We are expecting a big thunderstorm. In fact, I just heard it thunder. So if the whole thing disappears, maybe you can restart it from wherever you are.
Sure.
Yeah, things happen. And I think that Diane Oser is also remote from Bend. And we just had 2 more people joining. So this is a really good turnout for one of our BANA meetings. And I think I'm going to turn it over to either Brownwin or Henry, whichever one of you is prepared to speak first. I take it we're not going to have Kelsey with us tonight. Okay.
No, I don't think so.
All right.
No, she's not going to join. Henry, you can go first if you want.
Are you sure? I don't have any time constraints, Bronwyn, so I'm happy to defer if you need to leave.
No, I'm good too.
Okay. Well, sure. I'm happy to go first. Well, thank you guys for having us. My name is Henry Stroud, and I'm a planner with the Park District, and I'm primarily focused on the development of our trail system. And Kelsey had passed on your invitation to give you guys a little bit of info about a project that we're calling the North Unit Canal Project. So I'm going to spend just a few minutes talking about that. But before I do that, I want, could whoever is the host enable screen sharing?
I can do that, but it always challenges me. So you could walk me through how I do that.
Ooh, that is I'm not a big Zoom person. It may be
Go down to the green box that says share screen.
There we go, share screen. And it's not asking me who I'm going to share it with. So if this works, this is great. And if not, well, you
Oh,
know,
no.
in my inbox, that's stupid.
No, I think what you need to do is look for the options, and there should be something for enabling screen sharing. Hold on, I can search online really quick, unless Bronwyn knows.
So you need to find the the security button. There should be a security button at the bottom, and you click on security. And then it should give you an option to allow participants to share screen.
Okay, I think I clicked on that. Now,
All right, I'll try.
have you got the controls then, Henry?
It is working. Give me just a second. Let me know when you all can see my screen.
I see use 3 words to describe your perfect trail.
Yep.
Yeah.
we'll see
So, one of the things that I want to do tonight, this will be really quick, but I want to use you guys as guinea pigs a little bit for a new public engagement website that I'm using. So if you look on the top of your screen, there should be a very short website address. It's menti.com, Menti. And if you just go to that and enter in the number you see at the top of the screen, this question should pop up. And what I want you to do is to enter 3 words that would just describe your perfect trail, and then we'll see the results pop up on the screen.
And how do we do that without losing,
Oh, if you have a phone, you could do it on your phone, or just do it like in a browser window.
okay.
And then the more people enter, it'll come up on the screen. Maybe I'll give you guys another 30 seconds here, and if anyone's having trouble, let me know. But it looks like it's working. All right. Yeah, what do we got here? Dog friendly. That's one that we always see. This is pretty par for the course so far. Unpopulated. Ooh, I like that one. Safety views. Accessible. Did everyone get a chance to put in their?
Stop working.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to move on, and not a big deal if it's not working for you. I do like it's. This is the first time I've ever used this, so it's fun to see it working and kind of working in action. And so one of the things that we've been doing in the run up to this project is we've had a couple of public meetings that have just been kind of meet and greets at Pine Nursery Park, and then you guys are the first neighborhood association that I'm talking to directly about this project. And part of our initial outreach is just to ask people what kind of things they like to see on trails. So there's nothing really here that's surprising to me. This is all stuff we've seen before, but maybe I just wanted to open it up and just anyone wanted to talk about what they put in here and why, or maybe describe what their perfect trail is. And anyone just go ahead if you want to.
Well, let's see. Wide enough would be my thought. So not to be crowded.
Wide enough. Anything in particular? Would that be wide enough for anything in particular?
Well, for multiple users, roller skaters and walkers, or people with buggies and walkers.
Yeah, that's a good one. Maybe so people can pass next to each other without having it be too dangerous. All right. All right. Well, I've got one more question that I want to do. And I'm recording all this. So we're going to take this back. And this goes into kind of just some of our thinking for design for trail projects. But what I want to do is now go to the next question. And I want you to pick out of this list, and there is an other category, what your favorite trail activity is. And I realize I didn't put walk the dog on here, so I guess that would go in the other category. Guess I should do it too. This is interesting. We don't usually see observe nature be the number one, but I like that answer. It's actually what I put for mine. All right. Does anyone want to share what their favorite thing to do on a trail is?
I'll share. I did other because walking my dog is primarily what I do. But I mean, I honestly would have picked observe nature, walking, other, spend time with friends and family. I mean, really all of them.
Yeah. You know, I realized I thought I had set it up so you could pick multiple, and I realized you could only pick one. But I guess, you know, it gets the point across.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys. That was just a little experiment for my own personal edification. But now what I'm going to do is switch over, and I think I'm going to have to stop sharing. I'll switch over. So here. And do you guys see the map of the trail now?
Yes.
Sorry, I stopped it. You'd think after 3 years of doing this, I'd have it down, but apparently not.
Well, just while we're waiting, I want everybody to know that I am recording this meeting.
Sure.
So
That's good. Well, so anyways, and I'll just be really quick on this, but what I'm really here to talk about is a planned project that we at the Park District have been working on for a number of years. And this is what we're calling the North Unit Canal Trail. And really the goal of this project is to make improvements along the existing canal maintenance road, or we often call them ditch rider roads. Those are the names of the people that drive along the canal and look for problems every day. They're called ditch riders, so we call it the Ditch Rider Road. So our goal of this project is to make improvements to the road and to secure legal public access for trail users. So in the area that we're particularly focused on now is this area in between Canal Row Park and what's called the Petrosa neighborhood, which is a neighborhood development that's being developed by Polish Homes. In the planned trail alignment is shown in the red dashes on your screen. And the reason that we are working really hard to develop this trail is that, as you guys are probably well aware, this part of Bend is growing really, really quickly. I believe Petrosa is going to have 1,600 dwelling units or something of that nature. I believe several thousand eventual residents. And then we've also seen a number of other residential developments and apartment buildings creep up along the canal. And you guys may already use this. That's very common. There's a lot of public use that currently happens, primarily with walkers along the canal. But what many people don't know is that the majority of the canal is private property. And you're technically not allowed to use the majority of it, even though there's been this long history of public use. So this first phase of the project that you can see in red, this is really happening in two parts. The first part is being built by Polish Homes in the Petrosa neighborhood. And as part of their neighborhood development, they're building a series of hard surface trails that you can see both in the dashed yellow as well as the dashed red. And when their trail system is complete, the Bend Park and Recreation District, we're going to take over ownership and maintenance of the section of the canal that runs along, or the section of the trail that will run along the canal. This is a 10-foot wide asphalt trail that links up to several other trails that are being built throughout this neighborhood, as well as a new neighborhood park called Fieldstone Park that is currently under construction now. The second part of this project is a little bit different. It's what it'll be is a continuation of the trail that's built through the Petrosa neighborhood along the canal, and that trail will run past Pine Nursery Park and all the way down to Canal Row Park, both of which are existing Bend Park and Recreation parks. Canal Row Park is a smaller neighborhood park with a playground, small parking lot, and just some internal trails. And then Pine Nursery Park, which you're all familiar with, is one of our larger community parks. The other thing that we're trying to do as part of this project is develop a loop trail in between Empire Road. So you can't see it on this aerial, but this is the new Empire Road extension and the roundabout at Butler Market and Empire. And there's a series of trails that run along Empire Road. And as part of this project, we want to create a loop so you could walk along the trail from Pine Nursery Park, cross over an existing bridge that runs next to the road here to Schutz Market Road, and then come back on the other side of the canal, which is a pretty popular loop that people are already walking. The section of trail in between Petrosa and Canal Row Park is going to be developed as a gravel trail, which is very similar to a lot of the other canal trails that we have in Bend. And part of this is because of the Bureau of Reclamation and the North Unit Irrigation District, which are two agencies that maintain the trail. They're requiring a gravel trail throughout this section. And we have a really high demand for soft service gravel trails from our trail users. So that's pretty much an overview of the project. In terms of timing, the sections of trail within Petrosa are currently under construction, and they will be built out over the next 2 to 3 years as more homes and the rest of the street and trail infrastructure are built in that neighborhood. And then for the other section of trail, we're currently in design right now. So we have about what we call a 60% design set, which is designs that are almost all the way done, but we don't have our permits yet. And we just started the permit process with the Bureau of Reclamation. So they haven't approved anything. They just know about this project, and we've been talking to them about it. And we have to go through a pretty lengthy approval process if we're going to be able to develop this trail. The other thing that we're doing is we're working on securing the necessary easements for the trail. Believe it or not, the majority of the underlying property underneath the canal is privately owned. And a lot of these properties are vestiges of larger properties that used to exist, large ranches and agricultural developments. And so it's really hard to track down the property owners. And in many cases, they don't even know they own that property. So we're working with a property specialist, and we've been reaching out to all the affected property owners, trying to secure the easements for the trail. All that said, our goal is to finish the design work before July of next year, so over the next 12 to 14 months. And then we have money slated in our budget to make the improvements to the trail, which is really kind of the easiest part of this project. We're just going to be resurfacing the gravel road and then making some improvements to where the trail is going to cross Benson Road, putting in a new crosswalk and some lighting and signage to make that a safe place. But we have money starting next July and then for the next year after. So that's our fiscal year starts in July. And we're hoping to have the trail complete by the early part of 2025. And that's all I have on this project. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer questions. Or if not, I'll just turn it over to Bronwyn.
What's your expected timeline for this? And maybe you said it and I missed it.
Yeah, so there's no firm end date. A lot of that is being driven by how long it's going to take us to get the permits from the Bureau of Reclamation. But we're hoping to have the whole section that you could see in red completed over the next 2 to 2.5 years. And the reason for the long timeline is that there's just a lot of unknowns, and the Bureau of Reclamation is a federal agency, so we have to do a federal permitting process, which can be fairly extensive. that's all I had. Bronwyn, do you want to jump
There
in?
was a question in the chat too, Henry.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see that.
Did you find it there?
Sure. And the question is, will the street crossings have safety improvements? The answer is yes. As part of this project, we've been really focused on where the trail is going to cross Brinson Road. So Brinson Road is a fairly busy road that intersects into Butler Market. And as part of that, the city is requiring that we install lighting, new signs, potentially a pedestrian refuge island, which would give you a safe space in the middle of the street, as well as warning signage that would warn motor vehicles to the crossing of the trail. The other area where this section of the trail would cross the road at Purcell Boulevard and Deschutes Market Road, those haven't gone into like the full design process, but I believe there is some warning signage already at Purcell Boulevard. And then at Deschutes Market Road, it would probably be a fairly extensive crossing with a pedestrian refuge island, lighting and signage as well.
Okay, so I had one comment. It's not really a question, but
Yeah.
I know that the Forest Service really struggles with providing enough trails for people to use just past the west side of Bend. So I think that providing trails within town is a really great idea, because the trails up there, the popular ones are just being beat to, and beaten up, I guess I should say, and they're rather crowded, and providing people with easier access and closer to their own homes is a really great idea.
Yeah, Kathy, that's a great comment, and it really echoes a lot of the sentiments that we hear from the community about wanting close to home recreation opportunities. And I mentioned at the beginning, but this part of town is growing so quickly, and we know if we don't do anything out here, people are still going to be trespassing in there, and because they want to walk close to the home and they want places to take their dogs and their kids out. So yeah, thank you. That's a really great comment, and I really like to hear that.
Okay, and just one other thing I want to point out is I did turn on captioning, because we have a member of BANA who isn't attending tonight, but almost always asks me, will there be closed caption? She's deaf, and so I turned it on to see what it would look like, and I think it comes across pretty well. It looks like it's doing its job and not messing up all the language. So we will be doing this in the future to be more inclusive.
All right, thank you. And the last thing, I'm just putting my email into the chat. So if anyone has any questions about this project or just any questions, always please feel free to reach out to either myself or Bronwyn or anyone else you know at the Park District.
Okay, so now I guess we're going to hear from Bronwyn.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Bronwyn Mastro. I'm a landscape architect here at the Park District. And we have a few projects happening in your area that I just wanted to touch on briefly. I'll stay in the same area that Henry was just in, the Pine Nursery and Petrosa neighborhood. Pine Nursery, you probably are aware, has been built over several phases. So this was, the park's almost 150 acres. And we are coming up on the 5th and final phase of the build out of that property. This is a plan that has been, that has previously gone through land use. So it's got approved elements per land use, and now it's just time for us to build it. So it's not like a whole new, let's reimagine what we can do out at Pine Nursery. It's really completing that original park plan. And we are hoping and anticipating to approve a design team at our next board meeting, and then kick off design at the end of April. This project will include on the east side of the park, where the existing softball fields are and the concession building and restroom, we'll be building 2 more softball fields. We will be evaluating whether we can add or on the 2 other fields that are adjacent, change the infields from dirt to artificial turf. The new ones will have artificial artificial turf infields. There will be ball field lighting in general. And then the addition of either more pickleball courts or some tennis courts. There will also be potentially some revisions to the off-leash dog area. It won't be taking away space. If anything, it'll add additional space, but it just might reconfigure how it's aligned to accommodate the new courts. There will be a pedestrian trail over to Deschutes Market Road, some improvements to some of the maintenance facilities. And then if budget allows, we might look at some of the parking issues that we have and seeing if there's ways to address those, and also to have some pedestrian lighting along the loop trail that goes around the park. So it really touches almost every corner of the park in one way or another, but the ball fields and the lighting are the biggest priorities of this project. So what you can expect from that is that we'll be in design and permitting for probably at least a year. We'll be engaging stakeholder groups that use those facilities very closely. So if you are involved with softball or baseball or pickleball, you'll probably be hearing from us, or your organization will be. We will also be doing some general public outreach as just kind of informational updates to share what the plan looks like once it's all drawn up and designed. And then to also share information about the construction timeline. So we don't expect this project to be fully built out until probably sometime the second half of 2025. So there's still a little bit of time before anything will happen. I don't anticipate construction to even start for probably at least another year and a half, but the project is up and going, and you'll probably be hearing more about it soon. And then actually, before I move on to the next one, any questions about that?
I have a comment. I would love to see more pickleball courts there, and I know a lot of other people would too. I guess it's kind of a question too. Is there any plans at all to do any lighting around the current or future pickleball courts that you have over there?
That's a good question. That would probably be more in the might be nice to have versus like the top priority. So it's something that we'll explore during design though, for sure, to see if it's just to check the feasibility and the costs.
Okay.
Any other questions on Pine Nursery?
Yes. What is the status of the additional soccer fields?
That is an excellent question that I do not know the answer to. As far as I know, there's still conversation going with the Timbers, and because the Timbers would be building that as well. So it's the outside partnership. And as far as I know, there hasn't really been any movement on it. I don't know if Henry, you've heard anything more than that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well then, and if something comes to you later on about any of these projects, we can always circle back to them as well. Just super quick, over in Petrosa, the neighborhood that Henry mentioned earlier, that neighborhood will have a new park as well, a new neighborhood park called Fieldstone. It's under construction now. We are not building that. It's being built by the developer, but we will take it over after it's complete. I believe it's around 5 acres, and it'll have, a lot of the similar neighborhood park elements, open field, picnic shelter, a play area. I think this one has like a very small bike skills course. And my understanding is that it should be open sometime this summer. So, like I said, I don't have a ton of information on that one, but just so you know, there is another neighborhood park coming over in that area as well. And then outside of your neighborhood boundary, but association boundary, but also something I want to share is out at Big Sky. The bike park is almost complete, and we expect that to be opening soon. People are already using some of it. Technically, it's not officially open. We still need to finish the shelter is the last thing. But the bike park with the asphalt pump track, a couple of different skills development courses, and some single track trails, as well as some infrastructure improvements to that park. is almost complete. So if you haven't been out there, you can go check it out. There's a lot of new features out there. And then the final project that I wanted to discuss was at Sawyer Park. I don't know if any of you were involved or participated in any of the public outreach that we did last summer. Are any of you familiar with this project?
Little bit.
Okay. So this project really started as an asset management or maintenance project. If you've driven out to Sawyer Park, you know that the drive-in and the parking lot are in pretty bad shape and they needed some upgrades. And as part of that, we went through a fairly robust public outreach process last summer just to learn more about how people were arriving to the park, if there were opportunities to not only to better design the parking, but also to improve access from other modes of transportation. We were looking at what people actually do in the park and how they use it and wanting to learn more about that. And then we started looking at, and I will back up and say that the summer before that, we did a parking study to just figure out what kind of size parking lot we would anticipate needing to meet the needs of the park for the next at least 20 years. So that was kind of the basis of the design, but we really wanted to hear more from park users about what they did out there and how they got there. And that all informed the design process. And what we had heard from users was that almost everyone drives. If you live within a mile, then you're less likely to, but still even people that live, you know, within a half mile will often drive there because a lot of times they have gear and other stuff with them. And then we also found that people, speaking of the comments earlier, they go to observe nature. That was like by far, you know, nature activities were the #1 things. People just love the park for having that bit of nature and access to it right in the middle of the city, whether it is just walking around, sitting by the river, bird watching. People really love that natural character of the park, and it was of utmost importance to maintain it. We heard that there were some safety concerns about activities that were happening in the park, and that also related to the location of the parking lot itself, because you have to drive down and into the park, and there's no visibility from the street or very little visibility even coming in. And then the other thing that we heard loud and clear in terms of what would make the experience more enjoyable for patrons would be to have a permanent restroom there. And so then we started looking at, would it be possible to expand the scope of this project? I will say that accessibility was also important. There's not hardly any accessibility to speak of out there right now in terms of trails, or there's no accessible parking stalls, that sort of thing. So accessibility improvements were also a important thing. So we started looking at expanding the scope. And I'm going to pause for just a second because I see a question from, oh yes, I will talk about that property next. Kathy wanted to know about the current, the Public Works campus. So I'll talk about that after Sawyer. So we went back and redesigned. We came to the public with 3 concept options. One still showed some drop off and accessible parking down kind of where the existing parking is. The other 2 options, or well, all 3 options then explored moving the bulk of the parking out of the middle of the park and closer to O.B. Riley Road. And the option that was selected, I can share my screen if you would like me to show the concept plan, or I can just talk about it. Okay, let's see. I will share my screen. Can you all see a site plan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
This is the overall plan. I will zoom in just a second, but for context, this is O.B. Riley Road. This green area in here is where the existing parking lot is. So we explored a few different locations in the early concept designs, and this was the concept that came out of that, which was to move the parking closer to O.B. Riley Road. Part of that reasoning was just to have better visibility into the parking lot itself. There will be some lights in there as well. The capacity expanded from the current 31 stalls to 57 parking stalls, which was on the lower end of the estimate of what our traffic engineer thought we might need. We realized, and one thing that we struggled with was just getting that accessibility into the park, acknowledging that by moving the parking closer to the road, which gives you a lot more uninterrupted natural space within the park, also could make it more difficult for folks with any sort of mobility challenges to get into the park. This southern trail is our primary accessible path of travel. It's around, I think, 400 to 500 lineal feet of travel at under 5% slope. This was the shortest route to get you into the park. One thing that is nice about it though, is that as soon as you kind of turn this corner, you're in the trees and the wooded area, and you have some really nice views out to the river. So it really starts to bring you into that kind of park-like and natural experience. We have some benches along the trail, all of the trails for folks to stop and pause. And then it does improve the accessibility of the trails within this kind of main developed area. The bridge itself is not accessible, but it'll get you up to the bridge. So even though we can't necessarily make the entire park accessible, it does improve that experience for folks with mobility challenges within the park and gives them a few more options of things to do where they can actually navigate it with a lesser grade. And some more benches and picnic facilities. Up here in the back up by the parking lot, we are proposing to install a permanent restroom with 2 stalls and a picnic shelter. And then the central trail will have a set of stairs and a bypass. And then along the footprint of the existing road, it'll still just be a multi-use asphalt trail that connects to the Deschutes River Trail and then out up to O.B. Riley Road. So just to improve that, that's part of the city's low stress network. So kind of building that out, improving that efficiency. We'll do some restoration down where the existing parking area is, a combination of probably primarily native or adaptive species and maybe a little bit more turf area. Now this expanded scope really increased our budget, but we have been pursuing some grant funding, and just last week we were approved, not only approved, but our application ranked first of the 10 applications that were submitted for the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant. And that'll be almost a $1.3 million grant. So that will be really what will allow us to fund the restroom and all of the other improvements. And we still will be pursuing a little bit more. So right now that project is kind of paused at conceptual design. It's a known archaeological site out there. And so we have some special considerations to take into factor as we progress with the design, just in knowing that it is an important cultural heritage site as well. Let's see, and I'm gonna check.
Hey, Bronwyn, I've got to leave, so I'm going to jump off. But thank you guys again for having us. I really appreciate it. And like I said, reach out with any questions. Good night.
Thanks, Henry. So any questions on Sawyer?
Yes, have we lost connection on the south of the river where the trail connected, but you had to cross the golf course? And now they're posting that. Is there no longer connection?
You know, I would have to check with our park services crew on that side. This project doesn't really deal with that side, but I know with there has been a little bit of back and forth with like the golf course. So I'm not sure. I would have to look into that, but I could ask and see.
Okay, thanks.
I'll make a note about that. Any other questions?
I put a couple questions in the chat, and that was just, is there any news or anything we need to know about Rock Ridge or North Point Parks?
If we're done with Sawyer, then I'd be happy to move on to those. Okay, not that I'm aware of, no. Those are both just open and no projects planned, so no news on Rockbridge or North Point.
Okay,
And then as far as the Ben Public Works campus goes, yes, we have signed an agreement with the city there, that when they build their new Public Works campus, that we will be moving into that campus. So that'll be our park services or maintenance division that's moving over there, as well as a few other possibly departments into that space. It'll be our main maintenance facility, and there will be a few tenant improvements to the interiors of the buildings, but there won't be any substantive changes to the property itself or the configuration. And that won't happen at least until early 2026.
okay, thanks.
Let's see, did I catch everything else? I think so. Any other questions that I can answer?
Not necessarily a question, but I definitely, hopefully you can link our email into when you are doing the outreach and stuff for the Pine Nursery Park. I'm sure people would be very interested to give input and keep everyone posted on it.
Absolutely, you will be linked into that for sure.
Great.
And I will put my email address in the chat as well. So that if anything comes up later on, definitely don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being able to come and talk to us. Nice to get an update on what's going on, and maybe we'll have the time to do this again in about a year.
Yeah, we would be happy to come anytime. And I do see that Jim had a question about the maintenance, East Side Maintenance Facility. I'm not sure which one you mean. If you mean our current maintenance facility, yes, that will remain at least for the time being. But most of the activity will move over to the Boyd Acre shop. So, thank you for having me, and yeah, just don't hesitate to reach out if anything comes up. So have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
so mostly now we should have BANA board members left. We have a few other people who are still hanging in there. Does anybody want to go first with the report out to the group on what's happening in their topic area?
I'll go.
Okay, I was going to suggest you, so.
Okay. I'm the land use chair. So not a lot of new stuff, honestly. I know we have a lot of ongoing construction and plans that have already been submitted, and we're kind of just waiting on construction to start for. But if you hadn't heard, I did put it out in a quick email, just that I just found out last week, the Gateway North, the Costco project, which the master plan was approved in December, and they've been subdividing and moving forward. And then they recently pulled their applications for the multifamily, both it was called Affinity and I don't remember the name of the other one, but they pulled their applications for that. So I'm trying to find out a little bit more information and see. I was able to find out that it was because their financing fell through, is what they said. So I really would like to know more about what they're planning on putting in there instead. And, I wish we would have been, more notified about it. But I haven't been able to find any more information about it yet, but I will definitely keep you guys posted when I am. Other than that, everything's just kind of in progress, and no really new stuff since the last time we met.
Just an observation. When I moved to town with my family in 2010, there were things that were stubbed off there at Empire and Boyd Acres. And a lot of that stuff is just now getting finished and being put up for rent or for sale. So I mean, that seems like a really long time in a town that says we don't have enough housing. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know why. Does everything take that long? Yeah.
No, I'm guessing if it was that long ago, it probably had something to do with the market situation at the time. They probably ran out of money or lost financing also. You know, and I don't know. I mean, our market isn't as obviously bad as it was back then, but interest rates have gone way up and it's made a lot of things less affordable. So that definitely could be impacting the new projects. But yeah, hopefully they at least get the ones that are started finished.
So one other question that is somewhat akin to something that you might do, Ashley, land use, but also extends into a couple of other areas is when I was on the Neighborhood Leadership Alliance group, they were talking about, they never really made much progress on it, but that there's a number of these areas and that they were going to officially add them to the neighborhoods. And so the square, the Petrosa's building, I can never remember the name of it, the Stevens Road tract that's now coming to the city, and some of this other stuff that's pushing out the north and maybe the west side of our neighborhood have never officially been added to any neighborhood associations. And so it leaves us, well, stumbling a bit as to whether, do we include them? Are they going to create a new neighborhood? You know, where are all those going to end up? I don't know if you've heard any discussions about that, but I haven't. So
yeah, no, I haven't either, but it's a great question. I mean, yeah, there's some huge master plans that have been approved and are now being built. So they have to, you would think, go somewhere or start, a new association. So I don't know if maybe we can, I can reach out to the city maybe about that and see if there's anything we can find out.
yeah, if you do hear about that, you might reach out, or you might send out an email to the group here to say, this is what I've heard.
Yeah.
Along those lines, we are going to have David Johnson, I think that's, he's going to become our new NLA member. And I think that's supposed to happen maybe tonight, but they usually do it at the end of the council meeting. And so he from this point forward, he'll be attending the NLA meetings, and we should be getting some feedback then, or more information about what's going on in the NLA. So are you done, Ashley? So we can move on to Adam.
Well, it's been not very eventful in the world of money. I've seen some transactions come through, mainly bypassing me, but most of it in marketing to improve the website, and then some insurance renewals. The amount we have in our fund right now is about $8,900 for this year. I think some of that was in carryover, if I'm not mistaken. Or do they clear it out? I honestly don't recall.
July, they empty out everything, and they may take what we have left over and run it into the next year, but they do their financial wizardry with it before it shows up again in our account.
I know that something that would be nice if we could maybe, I don't know how long it took, but that one bouncing place we did, or you guys did years ago.
Trampolines, yeah.
How effective was that? And is it something we want to look into doing something similar, and maybe gathering some input from the neighborhood as far as some potential projects? And then before I end here, I did want to share an article that was kind of disturbing in the bulletin, as far as, I guess, kind of a lack of confidence in the neighborhood association.
Our particular neighborhood association, or all neighborhood associations?
All
It
neighborhood.
looks like all of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's an editorial, so it's someone's opinion.
Yeah,
It'll be fun to read.
yeah. So I think that somehow getting more than less than a handful of people participating in some of these meetings is really something that'd be beneficial. And if we could pull something like that off again, that could be fun.
Well, the story behind that is that was very much of a Cindy King thing that she wanted to pull off. They did give us some free jump time for the kids who were there. It's not very well set up for having a neighborhood meeting. We were in a very long, skinny room.
Yeah.
The kids were off down in the trampoline area. The parents were up on the second floor in the meeting room. We got a lot of turnout for the meeting, but then we got no follow-up participation. Is the way I remember it. We didn't have anybody saying, yeah, I want to be on the board. I want to come to these meetings. Our meeting attendance went back down to 10 people or 5 people. So, but if we did want to do a trampoline kind of thing again, since we have both the trampoline stores, activity centers in our area, we might have to not go back to trampoline zone, but go to the other one.
Mountain Air, yeah.
I do think in general, even if it's maybe not the trampoline zone, and maybe not our general meeting, but I do think it's a good idea to just have some more social kind of mixer type events and maybe just get people together more. And then I don't know, maybe they'd be more interested that way. Try to get them to have some fun and not just listen to us talking.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be a good way for like community members to meet each other and for us to meet them too.
So that's possible. We'd have to figure out what it will cost us.
Yeah.
When we looked into it a little bit last year, if it wasn't just giving out gift prizes, door-to-door prizes for a time at the trampoline zone. We could do our annual party or something, but when you look at how much the annual party seems to cost us, and there'll be some other little things that'll come through, Adam, on things that we're expected to pay for that are not evident at the beginning of the year. But we can't do door prizes. The city won't pay for them. So that approach didn't work out very good. And then what do you want to spend for your annual meeting? How many people do you expect to have attend your annual meeting? We had 30, 50 no-shows who signed up for our party last year and then didn't show up for it. And that was a lot of work pulling off the taco dinner for everybody. But we could try again. I know I personally don't have a lot of time or effort to put into that, but if other people did and we could control the costs, that would be fine. Maybe we could get just one person to give us all skateboarding lessons at Rockridge Park, huh?
Oh, fun. That'd be fun.
We all end up in the hospital by the end of it now. Anyway, so those are some things so in the next couple of months, we have to have the party by June, so that they can close out their books at the end of June, and then July, we start the new fiscal year. So I will note that, and if we get on with plans for the next couple of months, we can see if we want to do something like that. I just think that we have a lot of people we span a lot of age groups, and we have families, we have people without families, and we have, except for the Elks Club, we have nowhere to meet that allows alcohol, can't have any alcohol in any of the parks. So
I wonder if maybe 10 Barrel, I don't know if it would maybe probably be too expensive, but they're in our neighborhood too. Maybe we could do like an informal kind of something there.
Social hour or something.
Yeah, like a social hour type thing.
I think
We had a board meeting there years ago when they first opened, and they were quite generous to us. But, the upstairs room, it doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah, that might be a good, place to reach out to.
Yeah, and so if anybody has any other ideas along those lines, knows of anybody else who would do that for us, I keep thinking maybe Craft Kitchen would allow us to occupy their space for an evening, but I don't
Yeah.
know them very well, so.
The, when was I don't remember when the picnic was last year. It was later than June, wasn't it?
Mm-mm. It was kind of late in June. I think it was around the 20th. I can look it up for sure. I just don't have all my files with me.
Yeah, I want to say maybe it was like June 26th or something like that.
Yeah, it was close to, we were cutting
Look at my
the corners
calendar.
close on it, definitely. We're getting all the bills back in. And it
Mhm.
helps if you're gonna do parties like that, if you do it with people who are already on the city's list of folks they do business with. Because then they can just do all that money stuff one-to-one instead of a three-part exchange. I mean, we always end up finding out what it was, but there was a charge for renting the pavilion. There was a charge for extra people because we had so many people saying they wanted to come, and so we were over their minimum for their maximum for the pavilion. So we had extra charge for that, and we had to pay for all the food. So it's a lot of effort getting all that money coordinated, knowing that we weren't going to overspend, and getting everybody fed and sent home at the end of it.
Yeah, yeah. One of the approaches that seemed to, and I don't know how it would be on this this scale, but I've got the rental of Rockridge Park, and they seem pretty open to underestimating and then adjusting later if necessary. I don't know if that's been your experience in the past, but maybe that's something we can consider talking to them about, if that's the route we take, as far as saying this is what happened last year. Can we underestimate and then square up and budget for more, but then square up with them later?
I was certainly not offered that as an option, and all that had to come out of my personal checkbook or put it on my credit cards, and then
Yeah.
it all got messed up at time to pay because we were, well, it really should be BANA who was paying, but they sent the deposit money back to me as a person, and so it took me an extra month and a half to get all that straightened out.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it was not an enjoyable end to an enjoyable time when, it was had by all kind of thing. So,
Right.
but maybe now having gone through it once, we can make it work more smoothly.
Okay.
So, do we have any other board members still on here? Between Joette and Ashley, do you have anything to add on the NART meetings that you have or been? Joette, I think you run that, and Ashley, I think you're our designated representative to it.
Well, I actually have some BANA business to,
Okay.
the Habitat for Humanity houses are being completed and folks are starting to move in. I will send the last of our welcome cards to the 8 homeowners. So this project is done, and unless the new board decides that they want to reprint these, we won't have that expense anymore. But that was, we printed those, and then we always have postage to mail them. And it's a way of, welcoming new people into the neighborhood.
I really like that. Would like to see us continue it, but does anybody else have any strong feelings? I mean, it means that somebody has to do that work, but.
Well, and we need the realtor that was providing me all the closings so that I knew who to send it to is apparently has left town. And so I don't have that source of information anymore. It was I can't remember, Ashley, what you call that system.
It was in the MLS probably. Yeah, I mean, I could get them for you for sure.
That was handy, and then like, we know, so, then the other two things that I do are the website and the newsletter. And, I guess those are going out okay. I try to keep them updated and keep, the permits in a calendar. I don't know how often people are using it. But it's a, I at least try to double up on some of the announcements. Two things occurred to me that we could, for future speakers, we haven't had anybody from ODOT, and with all that stuff going on, we really ought to have, I think Gary Farnsworth still lives in the neighborhood. And Caraway, maybe, I don't know how that is progressing, but sometime in the next couple of months, have somebody there to tell us what's going on about that as well. Oh, the other thing I've been is that I always scan the email to see if there's anything. Usually I don't open anything that you all have not opened, but then after it's open, I look and I'll see, yes, there's somebody that wants to be added to the mailing list or taken off the mailing list. And I'll continue to do that for a while. But I've been on BANA 9 years now. It's probably my time to slip off and let new blood come on.
Yeah, it would be nice. I mean, I've enjoyed working with you, and I have no reason to say move on, but it would be good to have somebody else step up and take some of the burden for a while, get some of these things done. But that was sort of what I heard about that letter in the bulletin, or what the NAs are saying to city council is the city council doesn't pay any attention to them, and we have a hard time recruiting. We have a hard time meeting. All the NAs just about don't have a good place to meet. And they're trying to push city council, if they want to continue this system of neighborhood associations, that they should think about how we can meet and what they really intend to do with our input, because people go to a lot of work getting together in their neighborhood and putting together positions and giving feedback to the city. And the Murphy Road gas station is one that comes to mind. Those people really worked hard, and they were told, well, yeah, if you want to spend $6,000 to appeal this ruling, you can do that, but it has to be your money and not the money that the city gives you. And that kind of made some folks irritated. And so I think the city is going to have to figure out what they want the neighborhood associations to be. I mean, are we just supposed to be a get together, let's have fun? Are we supposed to be conveying real issues or grievances from our neighborhood to the city and keeping it out of the appeals processes or the courts? I think somewhere it was in our neighborhood where some guy built an unpermitted house and then was being told he had to tear it all down and there wasn't any options. And that seemed kind of, the whole way that was presented seemed kind of sad and on the heavy duty side by the city. But you know, our mayor is still getting her feet underneath her and still trying to figure out what we're going to do in some areas. And I haven't heard much from her. She said we were going to hear more from the city about how the city and neighborhood associations would be interacting. She sent that out shortly after the elections and then silence. So I don't know if she's just overwhelmed with other things like I certainly think that the homeless situation is takes up a lot of her time. And then of course, the twist about with the county having some land and saying, oh yeah, go ahead and use this. Oh no, wait, don't use that. That's pretty hard when you got the cart going down the road already and you have to put it to a complete stop. So there's those things. But so if I hear anything that says more about what they expect out of us, I'll certainly pass it on. It's not as busy now in terms of what I see as the chair as it was back about 2 years ago. That was a very busy time, and we were having a lot of meetings and stuff when Sally was the new mayor. But yeah, we'll just have to see, I guess, where the city wants to go with some of this. So I did mention earlier that David Johnson's going to be our NLA rep. I hope he'll be active, and I hope it will be interesting for him. They have a long-term agenda. They're going to plug him into the long-term agenda with goals and objectives and some things like that. And I hope that helps the city, because most of those NLA people are not on that committee for very long. And by the time you've worked through all that, you have almost nothing else to talk about. You know, you're not very synced with what's going on in the city. So that will be a challenge for them. The NLA has been meeting in a hybrid format. They can show up at city council chambers, or they can show up through a Zoom meeting. And I'm not sure how well that works, whether people get official, you know, get enough time to and feel welcome through one way or the other, and they're not all on the same status quite. So we'll have to see how that works out as well. I don't think I have any other news to pass along, and that's partially probably why I was stalling on having this meeting, because we really should have some kind of information to pass along, not just to waste everybody's time. But anyway, I haven't heard much about anything new out of Juniper Ridge. We had a couple of land use presentations on that, and they are going to move forward and fill a lot of that Juniper Ridge area up. I mean, it's getting much more full than I thought it would be by now.
Kathy, I have a question about that. The article that is in this week's source and has a little description of every neighborhood. Have you read that yet?
Okay, I didn't know that. I hardly ever get the source. Not very much.
At any rate, the person that wrote ours said he lives here. It was not the most flattering depiction, but the last paragraph, he says that Juniper Ridge is going to have houses and a performing arts center and be walkable. And as far as I know, that plan is 15 years old, and Eric King shelved it. So do we know anything about it? Maybe we
I hear from time to time that there will be some housing there. And I just go, well, that's interesting. Is it going to feel much like your home, you know, when you get there and there's just other industrial stuff? But if you're desperate for some place to live, you know.
I haven't heard anything about a performing arts, anything since I've been in this position. All I've heard is the Public Works Department, and but yeah, not many updates other than that.
Well, at one time, Harvey Mudd College was going to move out there. So, and that, I think that was what was going to have all the performing arts and other stuff. But I think I've heard some more about they're going to push Cooley Road on through.
Yeah.
I don't know when, I don't know with whose money or how that will happen. Of course, these days with some of the stuff that's been passed in Washington, D.C. and the money that's flowing around, sometimes they're just looking for a project that's close enough to implementation that they can put some money behind it. And I wouldn't be surprised if Juniper Ridge gets caught up with some of that infrastructure bill and some other things. And of course, many of us wonder how it's going to work. If you do all the 97 stuff that they're talking about, what ODOT's talking about, what are they going to do with Cooley Road? And I heard that Costco is going to have to shut Cooley Road down for a little bit. And I also know that it was shut down for a little bit for something else that wasn't the Costco stuff. But that will really hamper our neighborhood if that you can't get through on Cooley Road for the people in the North End anyway. For the people
Can we invite ODOT for next month?
I think that would be great too. We definitely would need an update on what's going on with that.
Does somebody want to talk to them, follow up on that and get a date?
I'll
Do you
do
have
it.
a contact for them?
Oh, I'd just look them up online.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, I mean, I can reach out to them and see.
Somewhere I have a note of the person's name. I'll look for it and send it to you.
Okay,
Okay, so we'll have ODOT for our next meeting, and
Oh, and so is it always gonna be the last Thursday?
no, it doesn't have to be the last Thursday. If somebody's willing to come talk to us, I usually let them pick a date so that we don't, we're not imposing on them. And then, oh dear, something came into my brain while we were talking and it flew right back out again. I'll think of it and I'll put it in an email or something out to the group.
Okay. Well, that reminds me, I did look on the plan for Gateway North, and they are going to have to take the curves out of Cooley Road. So there'll be a time period when from 20 some point east, Cooley will be shut down for the road work.
Yeah,
That is in the plan they submitted.
so then we hear that they're going to open Hunnell Road. That's why they got to clear all the homeless people out of there. And then we hear, oh, well, we'll just let them stay for a while. I don't know what's going on with that. Maybe ODOT could tell us more about Hunnell Road as well. One side of that road is evidently county and one side of the road is city.
Mhm.
But some point they're going to have to figure out what's going on there. So have we pretty much shared everything we need to share at this meeting here? Does anybody else have any other questions or things to add or eclipses to look at? We've got another one coming up, so better reserve your spot now.
Yeah, I think I'm all set with questions
Yeah.
for this meeting.
Okay, so I will keep watching the BANA emails and trying to get information out to you, and it has been slow, so don't feel like you've been missing anything.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Okay,
good to see you guys.
I'm gonna end this meeting then. Thanks everybody for showing up. It's really good to see you.